Good evening, I'm Matterall. Tonight on Talking in Stations, CCP announces Howling Dictors coming at the end of the month on October 27th. We'll see some updates to interdictors as well as interceptors, certain kinds of interceptors, combat interceptors, that is. Also, we'll look at period basis, which looks like it's on fire with the amount of iHubs that are being reinforced there. So we'll have a look at that. Those stories and more on Talking in Stations, the EVE Online report. Let's get started. How you doing, Mannix?
Hey, I'm doing great. We're also joined by Gagorn today.
Hello, I'm doing all right as well.
All right, excellent.
Cool. Let's look into these howling interdictors. What do you want to tell us about that?
Well, the first interesting thing I saw was the Saber did not get any love on this balance pass, which is pretty much what this is. It's a balance pass for the non-nullified scepters and dictors, right? The standard dictors. The Eris, the Flycatcher, and the Heretic all got pretty good buffs on this patch, and this is coming in 6 days. So instead of nerfing the Saber, they brought the Ares Flycatcher and the Heretic, or Eris Flycatcher and Heretic, up to par with the Saber. The Eris itself, it's got a increased the CPU power grid. The velocity's increased. It also got a mass reduction and a signature radius reduction as well. So there's a lot of buffs there. The got a couple changes to the bonuses. It's got a 5% bonus to small hybrid turret rate of fire now, so DPS is going to go up a little bit. Instead, it was a 10% bonus to optimal range. So it's losing some range, but it's gaining some DPS. And it's also got the other bonus change from 15% reduced mass penalty from armor plates. It was a 5% bonus to rate of fire. So a little tankier, a little harder to hit, a little faster, more fitting options. So it's a nice little buff for the Eris there. So it's pretty awesome.
Now, Eris is the Galente
Right.
interdictor.
That's the one I fly. That's the one nobody flies. You hardly ever see those around.
Previously, been so much worse than the other three that my usual joke is that that the Galente don't have an interdictor.
So
well, they do now.
Why do you fly it? Is it so you don't get shot right away on the field?
Well, you don't get shot, and my main character is Galente, so it's kind of a role play thing there too going on. It's just like
yeah,
my main race. I'm like, yeah, this is what I need to be flying. So not always, but that's the usually if I had one or if I needed a fleet, I would jump in my Eris, and everybody would be like, "We need a dictor." It's like, this is a dictor.
Yeah,
Like, no, it's not. Yeah, it is.
This is a dictor.
Yeah.
So that's the Ares. I've heard a lot of good things about this next one, the Flycatcher.
The Flycatcher, yeah, it's got some nice buffs too. It also got a CPU increase. It got a bonus changes as well. 10% bonus to missile kinetic damage, like a lot of the the ships of this faction have. Kaldari, right? There you go.
Kinetic Kaldari.
Right, yeah, they have kinetic missile bonuses, and the Gristas pirate faction gets the kinetic bonus as well. This also got a 10% bonus to missile explosion radius, and the bonus changed to 10% increased shield HP per level was 10% bonus. It had a couple changes there, right? So the bonus changes to 10% bonus to missile kinetic damage was 10% bonus to missile explosion radius. So it will have more damage, but maybe hit like smaller targets, not as well. Interdiction bonus changed to 10% or 10% increased shield HP per level. And that was another bonus to kinetic damage. So it's got a little tankier and got a little bit more CPU. The Flycatcher was used quite a bit. If it wasn't the Saber, most people used the Flycatcher, right? If you look at the Heretic, which is the Amar Dictor, CPU increased to 270. Was 240. Power grid, to 70. Was 60, so it's a 10% or 10-point increase there. Amar Destroyer bonus changed to 10% increased armor HP per level. was 10% bonus to lock missile and rocket max velocity. So it got a little tankier and it has a little bit more fitting options. This Dictor was also used quite a bit too as well. Really, the Galente one was the least used, hardly ever. So, and another great thing to come is they get a new probe to launch out. So not only now do they get to launch the Dictor probes, which is the bubble that you can't warp out of unless you're nullified. Now they get a new probe to launch, which is the stasis webification probe. You would drop the probe in space. There'll be a short delay, and it explodes, applying 30% web effect to all nearby ships, and it lasts for 30 seconds. So that's going to be real interesting. I definitely see more Dictors being used now. You'll probably want both in your fleet now. You'd want some that would have the standard Dictor probes in there that would keep ships from warping out. And this also, and you can launch this one, and this will also slow them down. So it take them longer to get out of that bubble once you have one trapped inside the bubble. So a lot of tactics can be used here.
Interesting note here is how it works. Like normally, if you put up an interdictor sphere, it's actually stuck in one place, and people who fly into it, they get stuck in it. Or if they're inside of it, they have to slow boat their way out of it. Either way, it's a fixed sphere in space, and you can see it. They're called bubbles. But this is different. This is more like a blast that slows everybody down. So it's like a web. So what we've been told to consider this as is something like a booster, except in reverse. It's almost like a nerf. So whereas a command burst would kind of hit everybody around a certain person as this thing goes off, and it would give them 30 seconds of a boost. This is the opposite. When this thing goes off, everybody in a certain radius will be infected by the slowness disease, we'll call it. And regardless of where you go after that, you still have it until it wears off. And nobody will be able to fly into that diseased, quarantined area because it goes off at one instant. So once it goes off, nobody else can be affected after that.
Yeah, I'd been thinking that for a while that it could be interesting to add more types of bubble to launch from interdictors that give other types of E-War. So, and this is kind of what I had been thinking. But a few people have pointed out, such as Murray Rothbardo, that this particular bubble type will reinforce the meta of fast-moving cruisers above all else, such as Munins, because they're the ones who will be most able to avoid this and will be able to get. And once you get something like battleships or afterburner cruisers bubbled down with this, they'll be stuck there pretty heavily.
Yeah, well, I thought this was counter gameplay to the Munins and the basically the heavy assault frigates. Sorry, heavy assault cruisers, the hacks, because they're fast. They can do DPS. They can pull away, pull range, and a lot of combat these days is basically range control. So I think this is supposed to be counterplay to that.
Yeah, but because they're so fast, it's harder to get them with this than any other fleet composition. But once you get a battleship fleet with this, for example, it's stuck there and you can keep getting it.
I see. So it'll affect them worse than it would affect the fast small group. And I see what you're saying.
A little bit.
It would be hard to catch up to the fast guys and apply this to them if you're not faster than them.
Yeah, but you're in a destroyer, right? So you're going to be able to catch them. Just depends on how good of a warping you can get on them. My thing with the battleships are already slow. It's going to slow them down even more. But they're like battleships commit to a grid, and they're pretty much like the old slow cats of old, right? They're committed to that grid, and they're just going to destroy anything on the grid, pretty much. Now, Macarials, maybe some rogues, long range rogues or something. The sniper battleships, I could see this being affected on them, but like the Megathrons, it's probably not going to affect them much at all. But the Munions, those getting bubbling a Munion fleet, then having one of these go off and they're slowed for 30 seconds. That's enough time to get any fleet on them, right? That's enough time for the battleships to catch up to the
Yeah, the
Munions.
point is to trip them, to catch up to them, and to apply close range damage to them. Once they recover and pull range, then they're safer. So that's the gameplay, and it looks like that's what this is about, I think. And this was probably thought about earlier this year. It's just barely now making the rounds as they figured out how to make this thing work. But yeah, there's something else. Go ahead. Anything else on these things?
I love new tools, right? This is another tool we have. It's another tool FCs have in the toolbox to make things happen. I don't think it's going to be overly oppressive, right? It's you still have, this thing goes off. There's a delay, so there's counterplay, and it lasts 30 seconds, which is a long time. But there's definitely, don't get caught. You're already used to targeting Dictors anyway. They're already a separate thing on your overview. So.
I think there's a second part to this. Howling, the Howling part of Howling Interdictors is speed based, right? We saw Howling Interceptors, I think, a while ago.
Yes, yeah, and this is going to be the change to the combat interceptors. That's the interceptors that's not nullified. They're going to get a bonus to overheating afterburners and their micro warp drive. So we get 100% bonus to overheating. So they're going to be really fast now. Scepters were already getting up 5K plus with heat on their micro warp drive. So they're going to be going really fast now. Of course, this is just to the bonus of the overheating benefit, right? They're not getting 100% bonus through speed. So they're not doubling their speed, their total speed. They're doubling the effect of the of overheating that module of the afterburner or the micro warp drive. So that could definitely change things to maybe these really weren't used that much. Like people probably use these because they still had them when they were nullified, right? It's just left over from that. If you look at the nullified Dictors price, I mean the Scepter Interceptor, the Travel Interceptors versus the Combat Interceptors, there's about a 10 million ISK difference, and that's a lot. And when you're talking about frigate size ships, 10 million is difference on the same class of ship. They're both Tech 2. It's just these weren't very in demand. Maybe this will help with that because they will be able to maneuver now a lot better than before and get away, kite range. So it's interesting. I don't know if it'll be enough though to bring them back up to viability with the assault frigates and everything that's out now with the assault damage control option. Normally, if you that's hard to fight against sometimes when you don't have that module, especially frigate size, right?
Yeah, well, we saw some video of people practicing on the test server, which they're already doing, and getting up to incredible amounts of speed. I think it was like 6,300 or something.
Yeah,
way up there, and ramming things. And it didn't, because it's a small ship. It can't really ram a battleship off of tether or anything like that. But it can certainly pick up a lot of speed. I do think that the combat interceptors have been working as combat ships, so people do run around and solo in them, and they do get around and fight. But
a little bit.
Yeah, but the loss of nullification really made them a secondary ship in that tier group. Now with this is overheating, so again it's a choice. Now you can just use the ship as normal, but overheating is going to give you that 100% bonus, and that's where you're going to have to make a choice how long you burn the overheat so you don't burn out the module. Those are all decisions that you get to make in real time. When you're in combat. So I have a feeling what we're seeing here is choices, playing and counter playing, and those are the things that our balance passes are giving us to work with. So
right,
that's what this is for me. That's what this is about: making choices, about speed, basically.
Yeah, I can see this also helping fleet tackle. Right, that extra speed definitely would help in that situation as well. So these might be more appealing for fleet tackle as well. So
I don't think
We'll
there's
see.
anything that can outrun that.
no.
Maybe
So-
the micro warp jumps can outrun it.
I don't know.
The
Yeah,
gold
you'd have-
magnate.
yeah. Well, I mean,
There's only
if
4 of
somebody
those in
shoots
the
them,
game.
you're probably not gonna see that out much.
Yeah.
Definitely
Alright.
not gonna see that out much.
Is there anything else on the expansion? I guess there's some skins. Right?
Yeah, there's some new, not new skins, but there's a discount on the current skins. There's gonna be a 20% discount on the individual Interdictor and Scepter skins, and there's gonna be 30% off the bundle for the Interdictors and the Scepters, so skins. And that's going to be between the release date, which is October 27th, and November 3rd. Those skins will be on sale.
Limited time. Okay, cool.
Yeah, limited time.
All right, thanks. That is once again the Howling Interdictors expansion coming on the 27th. It's already on the test server. If you want to go play with some theory crafting, you can check that out over there.
It is a Dictor. The Eris is a Dictor. Somebody in chat was saying it's not. It is.
I think they're thinking of Ares, or what's the other
Eris. No, that's right. Eris.
one? Ares is the Interceptor. Eris is the Victor. They're spelled.
The ARES is the Scepter.
Yeah.
The ERIS is the
Interceptor.
pronunciation is very close.
The Interceptor is the god of war, Ares.
Right. Ares, right. And this is the Eris.
Goddess of
Eris.
Discord. And
I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce this.
Okay, anyway. Period.
Eris is the daughter of Ares.
Period basis. Let's move on. We're looking at the timer board. Looked pretty busy, but most of it's here in period basis. Now, you may remember that there is a war going on, mostly focused on Delve. Well, period basis is a part of what was Imperium Holdings, still is. Well, actually, half of it looks like test now, but that's just, do we have this on sovereignty? Yeah, it's just territorial claim units, but actually, let's check on iHubs. Yeah, you can see all these are under attack, so there's a ton of stuff that is being attacked, and I'm not sure. Half of it is test, half of it is Condi. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but this might be the flipping of period basis in pretty quick fashion. I don't know if it's heavily defended. It might be. I've heard reports that it's not. There'll definitely be some choices made on what to defend, what not to, because there's just so many things. If we look at the timer board, we can look at the whole area. So we'll go to timerboard.net. Focus on iHubs, since that's what's important, the infrastructure hubs. Sort by region. And as we can see, there's a lot of Delve in here too. Not a whole lot, looks like a constellation's worth. One of the key systems there is SVM. You guys have heard of that, 3K, SVM 3K. But if you come down a little further here to period basis, you can see how it's a lot more widespread. I don't want to get into pure blind, so let's stay on period basis. So as you can see, there's like twice as many in period basis, which is a smaller region actually. So there's going to be some action happening in about a day and a half from now. These are the timers. These are clocks that are ticking down to a certain time. So a lot of these in Delve are coming out in a day, actually like 24 hours and 20 minutes from now. So it'll be US time zone fights if there are fights there. And then you also have stuff coming out in, well, actually about the same time. So
yeah.
This is why they have to make choices, because if all these are coming out at the same time, you got to spread out and take them all. And that's a little more difficult. You prefer to kind of stay concentrated on one area at a time. So we'll see what happens there. All right, anything else? Oh, go ahead.
Interesting thing about the Delve ones is that halfway through that the Delve and Tosis that was going on yesterday that reinforced that constellation's worth of iHubs. A few fleets got called off to go somewhere else because someone caught some Rorquals mining in fake Aquarius. So PL, NC, and NSH all got in dreadnoughts and a Ferox fleet to take those Rorquals out, and then the remaining fleets did manage to continue to reinforce the remaining iHubs, though.
So they got interrupted.
So if you want to stop Pappy forces from entoasing your Sov, throw out a bait Rorqual.
Well, I don't know if it was a bait. That's funny though. But I think it was a guy from Volition. I think Volition. They used to be Providence and Volition Coalition or something. And they ended up merging into Goonswarm, and they've been there they used to be an alliance, but they merged down into a corporation and moved into Goonswarm. And so one of the Rourke pilots, I think, or actually he's a different one, so he got picked off too, but he's not with this group of 2 or 3 Rorquals that got picked off. Anyway, just unfortunate timing because the Rorquals decided to try to mine an R64 moon, but they did it at a time when Pappy fleets were out doing things, so it was an easy switchover for them to just attack the Rorquals out in space, and that's what happened. So, but it reminds you that Delve is really kind of, I hate to put it this way, but it's kind of like a no-fly zone according to Pappy right now, at least for these big ships. So that is the constriction that Elise was talking about with the Anaconda example, that they're going to oppressively sit and take opportunities to kill things that slip up. And those Rorquals slipped up. They came out at the wrong time, or maybe they shouldn't ever have been out. That's a slip up. And because Pappy was within jump range and aware and around, they were able to capitalize on that. And see, there's no saving them. And that's the big problem with having an enemy Keepstar sitting in your territory with jump range. Now you can't save those Rorquals with your Supercap fleet unless you want to endanger them to an unintended escalation of events. And that's really what that Keepstar represents that Pappy was able to put down a few days ago. So we'll see more of that unless they turtle up in the Imperium, which is not necessarily a bad plan, but that's also infringes on people's gameplay. They're in a tight spot, no doubt. I think you can feel the energy from the Imperium being a little low. Maybe they're just recuperating and resting after fighting hard for about 2 weeks. But now there's a whole new reality, and they need to figure out how to work with that. On the other side, Pappy's also tired, but it looks like they're still going around creating timers. So I don't really know what's going to happen, but I get the sense that the Imperium is doing a little bit of relaxation right now.
Well, the Imperium has, they do have the home field advantage. Everybody else is deployed to their region, away from their home regions, especially the PanFam and Horde, along with Fraternity. They're on the other side of the map right now.
Well, we did find this. I'll see if I can bring it up. Just 1 second. And that is a little meme that came out. It's kind of funny. And it's Pappy sweeping under the rug that they lost some Esoterian systems. And so let's go take a look at Esoteria.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a funny meme.
It's a talented cut there with the gosh shoe and everything.
So while things have been going on, you can see the Bastion took over what looks like a little area here in test space. And we don't know how much of that. It looks like some iHubs here are being contested. So maybe Test is on it with some alts, or maybe Bastion has managed to attract some attention from Pappy, calling them back to defend their own territory. But we'll see what happens there in the near future.
If you look up the VYJ system that's green, it's to stain. It's actually a pretty important system.
VYJ
I believe
there.
I think Test has a Keepstar there, if I'm not mistaken. And Farah has that. That's some of the Stain Russians and hated sworn enemies of Test Alliance that live in Stain right now, the NPC Stain. So it's very interesting that they were able to take that solve. So I guess test is deployed, but they're deployed on their border. They're not really deployed. They have their armor super fleet there, so maybe they're not paying too much attention to the home region right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who knows if that grows or shrinks? We'll see in the future.
That whole pocket there is where Snuff made it set out a trap and killed a couple Titans, or 2 or 3 Titans, I think. In that pocket there, just because it's directly, adjacent to Stain. If you look on the map there, so very, very interesting.
Yeah, let's actually have a look at the world map.
Yeah, Horde has also lost a lot of Geminate, which is one of Horde's main rental regions, to Darkside and Adversity, but it seems like it would be much easier for Tests to defend Esoteria, since they have the armor super fleet and they're not deployed as far away from home.
Actually, light years wise, it's not a very big jump if you look at it.
No.
See, normally we're used to really long regional jumps, and that's a problem for super capitals, which work on a radius range, right? Like they can only jump 5 light years, 10 light years. This is it's not actually very far.
No, it's not, and you can drop dreads and stuff.
Yeah, so that's an interesting
from
difference
the adjacent systems
in that regional region. Wow, this really misbehaves. Come on. Well, okay. It's gonna take a while to fix itself. All right, that's it. So Howling Interdictors. You guys have anything else?
Not tonight.
All right, Howling Interdictors. Check that out. They have a new webifying nerf that pilots can use against fast ships. And you're going to see the Saber's brothers and sisters get good as the Saber gets nothing. So there's some parity again. And then we'll look for battles to continue in especially period basis, some Delve, and then some Esoteria as well. And that's what we had for you today. We will see you tomorrow on Talking in Stations.